Hi, welcome to Z Gadget Review. Before I get started, I want to say thank you to all the subscribers. I currently sit at 108 subscribers, and I am so thankful for each one of you. So, there have been rumors that LG is thinking of exiting the smartphone market. Now, this is kind of surprising and at the same time expected in a way. The reason why it's surprising to me is because they just came out with the LG Wing phone last year. When they announced the LG Wing, they also spoke about their LG Explorer program or project, a LG Explorer project, which they said is their way of exploring different form factors for smartphones, which is how the LG Wing came out. Now, the other reason why it's surprising is because this year they teased their rollable OLED phone on their CES press conference. They did it in a kind of secret way where they bookended the presentation opening with the phone rolling out to show the presentation and then the phone rolling back down when the presentation was over. It was kind of a thing that if you weren't really paying attention, you would have missed it. At the time, it was kind of a tease. They really didn't say much about it. It was just kind of like, hey, here's a rollable phone again. And I actually did a video on that, which you can see here or in the description section. Later, after I had done the video and everything, they actually came out and said that that phone will be coming out this year, 2021. For them to announce a phone that could turn things around for them, in my opinion, to going and being like, hey, we, might kind of call it quits on this whole smartphone thing. It's kind of weird. This comes from the Korea Herald. Since the competition in the global market for mobile devices is getting fiercer, it is about time for LG to make a cold judgment and the best choice, an LG official explained. The company is considering all possible measures, including sale withdrawal and downsizing of their smartphone business. So this comes because there was a message that was sent out to LG staff saying that there might be some big changes coming in the smartphone segment of the company. Why I don't think that is a surprise that LG will be coming out of the smartphone business. One actually surprises me that LG is still in the smartphone business after everything that they've done to try to gain a foothold in the market, and they haven't been able to. So it is surprising that they're still making smartphones. And I think the problem with LG is that when they make their cell phones, they don't really look to sell it to a wide audience. Somehow, every time they launch a new phone, it feels like they are looking for a specific market that they want to get into, which isn't necessarily really looking for that device, and they forget about everybody else. Example is the LG Wing. When it came out, like the form factor is pretty cool. It opens like this. You get technically two screens and you have a T shape. But when you actually look at the use of the phone, it just looks cumbersome and not the easiest thing to use and carry around. And when they did the presentation, they were focusing on all these people. In this case, they were focusing on content creators who will never use this phone for content creation. They focus on the camera on the phone. They focus on the fact that they had a gimbal in it, so you could use it to shoot video while you're moving around and things like that. And it's like, we're gonna go after this amount of people, but you have all these other people who might want your phone. How about we talk about everything else that your phone might be able to do for this other segment of the population instead of this small tiny sliver of people? LG has actually been doing this for a while, where they innovate, let's say, with their smartphones. For some reason, that innovation is only for a group of people. Or they innovate and then they go backwards on that innovation instead of going forwards. For example, the LG V10 came out in 2015. The LG V10 was a phone that didn't look like any other phone in the market. It was a phone that had technically a second screen on the top. It had a bar that you could use to put other apps and things like that. Granted that the usability of that second portion of the screen was big as you would expect it, but it was there, and it was a first attempt from LG to, again, innovate on a smartphone. Then they came out with the LG V20. And with the LG V20, for some reason, instead of sticking with the cool form factor that the LG V10 had, kind of felt like they downgraded the phone to make it look vanilla, and it didn't stand out from anything else in the market. They retained the second screen there. They gave it a little more features on the second screen. That's an example of them, instead of continuing with that innovation, to kind of taking a step backwards and making the phone that was exciting into boring. Then they went with the LG V30. And the LG V30 lost that second screen, became even more vanilla than the LG V20. And not only that, but it looked just like the LG G6. They looked almost exactly like the same phone. Both came out in 2017. But again, looking at that cool form factor that the V series had started here, and it just kind of went like, it disappeared. Now, with the G series, right? We just talked about the G6. With the G5, they decided to go into this modular cell phone thing that was happening at the time. It came out in 2016. It was right in that modular idea that Google had and Motorola had at the time. The G5 was supposed to be LG's modular phone. The phone was a disaster. First of all, it didn't look good at all. This is what the phone looked like. Again, pretty unimpressive design. Nothing really, looking at the phone, really didn't say anything about it being special or modular or anything like that. Like, if you were an average consumer who went to the store to pick up this phone, you wouldn't have had a clue that the phone had all these features. There wasn't anything on the phone that said, hey, this phone is special, this phone is different. So that's, to me, problem one. We're talking about design here, okay? LG design kind of just started taking a nosedive for some reason as the phones went on. The reason why modular phones didn't take off is because in order to take advantage of the extra features the phone could give you, you had to buy extra things to add to the phone. We're talking about LG, so I'm going to stick with LG. In this case, when you pull the chain of the phone, you had a battery, so you had like the battery stick on it. You could technically remove the battery stick and use that chain by buying other accessories, and you could, attach things to like a camera holder and things like that, a better battery. And obviously it didn't work out. And we're talking about 4 years ago. This is 4 years ago. Actually, 4 years ago, because this phone came out in April 2016. So it'll be almost 5 years, right? Okay, let's say 5 years. And so this is what's been happening. It's, in a way, LG makes sense that they are kind of in this crossroads, because the design of their phones has been going down the hill in years. And they started just kind of picking it up again like 2 years ago. 2019 is when they started kind of like, hey, our phones kind of, are not very appealing. And that's when they started more with the gimmicks, I think. So I will say from the G6 on is when LG started betting on gimmicks. You had the LG G8 that had that air motion thing that you could do on the camera and move your hands, and in front of the camera was supposed to do things. When you put your hand in front of the camera, it would change the music or lower the volume, make the volume louder, blah blah blah, which never worked. Okay, so you had this phone that had this cool feature that was supposed to do these things that didn't work. So that's a problem. Oh, let's try gimmicks. Let's try to do something on this phone that's gonna make it stand out and make it cool. That costs money. R&D costs money, which means that you're throwing money to products that people are probably not going to buy. So it kind of makes sense that LG is kind of thinking about bailing out on the smartphone business. The amount of money that they have lost in the last 5 years is, I think it's like $4 billion. In the last 5 years, you're competing with Samsung, which is a gigantic company to compete against when it comes to smartphones. You're competing with Apple, obviously different OS, but still competing. You're competing with smaller manufacturers like Huawei and Xiaomi. So I'm not sure if I said that correctly. What I think LG is always needed to do is focus on devices that are appealing to the masses. My hope is that LG doesn't throw the towel yet. I hope that LG gives their smartphone division a little more time, especially because of the Explorer project. Because I think they can come up with really cool things from that Explorer project, assuming that, of course, it's going to work, because that's the most important thing. You need to make sure that your features, your cool tech that you're putting behind product X works. I hope that they ramp down a little bit. They get rid of that 20 different fonts that they make that are all kind of look the same, and then they downsize to one or two things. I think they should have a premium thing which should come from their Explorer project, and have a, let's say, cheapo division of fonts, which could be their G8s or Velvet or whatever the hell they call in those fonts nowadays, and just do that. Because I really, really think that if the rollable phone that LG has, I think that phone can turn it around for them. I really believe that if that phone works, it can take some market from Samsung and their foldable phones. And they come in cheaper than what Samsung offers. I think that they can do some damage. I think that they can turn it around and come back. I personally used to be an LG V series fan. I had the LG V20, I had the LG V30, and after that I was like, no more. You guys are kind of going down, and I don't really like what you guys are doing with your phone. So I kind of bailed on LG. What about you? Have you ever had an LG phone? Are you a fan of LG phones? Let me know in the comment section. That's it for me. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Really helps the channel. Go ahead and hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. And I want to thank you very much for watching.